Kitchen Creations with Robert. Hope you're all doing well. So today we're going to do something. I'm going for my vegetarian friends today, and I am actually doing a twist like on a beef Wellington, but we're going to do a Portobello Wellington, portobello mushrooms, and I'm going to use some white mushrooms as well. Simple, quick, and it's pretty healthy as well. So before we start cooking and working on this recipe, just remember guys, please subscribe, like, and share. Looking forward to hearing from you guys, and let's get ready to cook. Okay, so it takes a little time to do this because I have to like caramelize the onions. I have one onion. What I did is I took half of red onion and half of regular white onions, and I sliced them pretty thin. Now what I'm going to do is add a couple tablespoons of oil to the pan. Just want to get it, swishing it around, get the pan coated with the oil, and you're going to add your onions into the pan. Now what we're going to do is spread the onions out really thin, layer them, and we're going to lower the heat on this and just let them cook on their own, and every once in a while we'll have to keep turning them. I mean, the onions are going to be here, your eyes are going to burn for a little while because onions have that effect on us, makes your eyes tear. So while this cook, and it's going to take its time because it's got to be on a low heat, we're just constantly going to turn it. It's only going to be about 10 to 15 minutes for this to be completed. Okay, so let's move on to our next process. What I'm doing is I'm mixing the sweet potato and the acorn squash. What I'm going to do with these is get them in small cubes. And I am going to now, what I think I'm going to do with the acorn squash is really slice them thin. So this is pretty much done. I'm going to go back here, keep turning my onions, and keep the thin, kind of leave them really, layer them at the bottom of the pot, really not letting it, spread it out as much as you can. Okay, so while this continues, I will move on to our next step. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take these and throw them into a bowl. I'm going to add some salt, pinch of salt, and here I've got some thyme. So I have like 5 sprigs of thyme that I'm going to mix in here, and we're going to get everything incorporated. I have a cookie sheet lined with some parchment paper, and to that I'm just going to pour everything on here. I'm going to spread it out, and I'm going to stick it in the oven. 15 minutes at 370 degrees. In the oven we go. Now that I've put my squash and yams in the oven, let's not forget our onions. So just keep constantly turning them. I've gotten some of the prep done. Let's go over the remainder of the ingredients. We've got portobello mushroom caps, just the caps. I have here regular white mushrooms that I'm going to really chop those up. We did use the acorn squash. I've got half a cup of walnuts. I've got 3 cups of baby spinach, rosemary, and of course thyme that we used earlier, salt, and garlic. So that's basically all the ingredients that we need, and of course we're gonna need puff pastries. I did buy frozen puff pastry instead of making it, but one of these days we'll do it together, because puff pastry is a time-consuming process. So this was a 1, 2, 3 quick. I decided last minute to make this, so that's why I am using store-bought puff pastry. Okay, so while I'm waiting for all the other things to happen, let's just chop up these mushrooms and just dice them up. I want them So here's our mushrooms. I'm just going to pour them in here. I'm going to add a little salt to it. Just a little salt, pinch of salt, a dash of oil, just a dash. And we're going to toss them around, mix it well. And it's going to go on the same baking sheet that I have in the oven. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I putting everything on a baking sheet instead of using the stove? It's because we're going to put all these ingredients into the puff pastry. You need to take all the moisture out of it. So this way, in the oven, we'll get all our moisture out. So this is pretty well mixed. I'm now going to add it to the pan. My mushrooms are in the oven, and I keep coming back here and tossing around my onions. So it's been about 15 minutes on a low heat, and my onions are ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove it off of the stove and allow it to cool. So we'll move on to the others. So I have 5 mini baby portobello mushrooms, just the caps. I'm going to just put them in here and kind of let them grill a little bit. Well, not grill, but kind of cook them a little in the pan. Okay, they're sticking, so I'm going to add some water to the bake. Give it about 2 minutes on each side, and then we can slice them up. So this is what we're trying to get rid of, all this moisture, because once that goes into your puff pastry, it could create leakage, and we don't want that. So we're going to keep cooking this down a little bit and getting all the moisture, doing all of the pre-cook and removing the moisture before we add it to the pastry. So my mushrooms are almost done, and there's still a little moisture. So what I'm doing is I'm turning them over and I'm pressing to remove all the excess liquid. At this point I'm going to remove them, putting them on a paper towel, and we'll remove whatever moisture is left. You need to get all the moisture out of it. The more you can get out, the better it is. And at this point, I'm just gonna slice into them. I'm gonna dust it with a little salt and a little garlic powder. Give it a nice mix. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave this on a paper towel so we can remove all the moisture. Any remaining moisture, we can get rid of it this way. Okay, so the mushroom's done, and now let's move on to our next process. So I've just removed this from the oven. It is our acorn squash and the mushrooms, so all moisture is out of it. And what I'm going to have to do is remove all the spices from it. So I'm going to allow it to cool, and let's move on. Now I'm adding 1 tablespoon of olive oil to my pan, and to that I'm going to add 1.5 garlic, minced garlic, and I'm just going to cook it until it gets a little soft. And now I'm just going to add I have here 3 cups, about 3 cups of spinach. And we're going to just let it cook down a little bit. Pinch of salt, a teaspoon of salt. Now you're going to see there's a lot of liquid in this. We'll have to drain the liquid out. So while my spinach is finishing up there, let me remove all of the what I had here on the mushrooms, the rosemary on the mushrooms. I'm going to take them out. So I am removing them. Of course I'll add a little more, but this way we can control the amount that's in there. Now my mushrooms are done, and I'm going to move on to, look how nice these are. And they'll continue cooking once they're in the oven. So my spinach is pretty much done, and I'm just going to add it into this, let it cool. I've got 1/2 cup of walnuts. What I'm going to do is just pour them in there and just give them a little roasting. So I have all my ingredients. I'm going to put them all in a bowl. It's my mushrooms, my squash, and my sweet potato, spinach, onions, mini baby portobello mushrooms, and lastly I'm going to pour the nuts. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this rosemary, and I'm also going to take a little bit of the thyme. Got my knife right here, just going to chop some up. We're going to give it a mix. All mixed everything together. Guys, I think this is one of those things you want to mix with your hands because it's going to fall apart with the spoon. So just give it a light toss. And our filling is ready. Here's my puff pastry. Store-bought puff pastry. And we're gonna actually scoop out and place it in the middle, leaving a little space so we can close off. Okay, so now the trick is to close this. Alright, let's see if I put too much or if that's good. But before I do that, I think I want to add a little cheese into it. So let's grab some cheese. Give me a second. I'm just going to add a little mozzarella into this because I think it'll pull it all together nicely. And I'm going to take this and bring this here. And we're going to bring That's pretty good. Now, on to the next step before we stick it into the oven. In the meantime, I have my parchment paper ready to place them on. So what I'm going to do now is give it some texture. And it's okay to actually go through the dough because it allows some air to get into or released from inside. So I'm actually going to make a hole here. Now that's done. I'm going to do an egg wash. Now, if you're completely vegetarian, you can omit the egg wash. So we just mix this, and then I'm going to add water to it. So what I'm going to do, make some room here. I am going to put this onto my pan. I'm going to pick it up gently, and onto the pan it goes. And with my brush, I'm just going to brush this egg wash onto it. And we're ready. Into the oven we're going to go at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. I'll keep an eye on it and let's see how it goes. Okay, so it has been in the oven for 15 minutes at 400 degrees. So it's ready to come out. Let's take it out and let's have a look. Ah. Beautiful. Looks lovely, nice and flaky. And there's no leakage, which is a good sign. So I'm going to let it cool for a bit and then we can have a closer look at this. Hey guys, and here you have it. It smells amazing. You can hear the flakiness of the puff pastry, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I'm not sure what's inside. We'll find out in a minute what happens when we cut it, okay? So let me take a minute here to get a knife and we'll cut into it. And let's take a cut into this. God, I'm nervous. It's nice and flaky. Oh wow. Here you go. It's got the cheese, you've got all your yams, the squash, spinach, mushrooms. It's all in there. So guys, here you have it. Our baby Portobello Wellington, I would call it. Baby Portobello Wellington. With our puff pastry, with all your vegetables inside, vegetarian version, and you can always add anything into it, but make sure whatever you add to it, you remove the moisture. If you're going to add meat to it, make sure all the moisture is out, otherwise you're going to have a soggy, uncooked puffed pastry. So whenever you get a chance, I would recommend that you give this a try. Once again guys, it's always a pleasure. I'm so happy that I'm able to share this time with you. I look forward to our next meeting together and creating something in the kitchen. Until then guys, remember to subscribe, like, and share. And as always, I hope that you keep safe, happy, and keep cooking. See you soon.